To get started, my name is Dominic, and I work with Amazon's Selling Partner App Store. As you may know, the App Store is a one-stop shop for sellers to discover and enable more than 2,500 trusted apps to help you grow and manage your businesses. We are continuing our webinar series today with a presentation on how to utilize Amazon A+ content to create engaging brand experiences. We will first hear from one of our in-house brand experts, and then we will welcome One World Sync, an Amazon software partner, to discuss how they help Amazon sellers create, manage, and optimize rich product content for omnichannel commerce. Throughout this session, again, we encourage you to submit your questions to the questions tool, and we'll be answering them in a live Q&A session following the presentation. We would first like to welcome Lauren Corey from our brand experience team to provide an overview of A+ content and share some new features. Lauren, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Dominic. I'm Lauren. I'm a senior PM on the A+ content team here at Amazon, and I'm going to just walk you through what A+ content is all about and our newly launched feature, Premium A+. All right, so we've got basically 3 features within the A+ Content Manager. Our main offering is basic. It's our free offering for all brands. We've got Brand Story, which is about a year old now, and it allows you to tell a little bit more about your brand, and we'll go into that. And we've got Premium A+. That's the newer offering that we've just launched for selling partners on Seller Central. And it's a little bit different than our basic offering. It's got some different modules, and we'll also go into that a little bit more. All right, so our basic A+ content is available to brand owners on Seller Central who are registered through Brand Registry. So you'll have access to A+ content. You can find it in the navigation on Seller Central under advertising. It is for your product to engage customers about your product, give them more information, try to vary it up between what you've got in your A+ content and what you've got in like your bullet points up on the detail page. And it shows in a description called product description on the detail page, so it's a little bit further down. But you can use up to 5 different modules to talk about your product and again, educate your customers on what the product is. Brand Story is another feature we've got. It was launched a year ago. We're wanting to make sure that brands really know about this feature. It can be used in conjunction with your A+ content, so it sits in a different slot entirely on the detail page. And it allows you to kind of just tell a little bit more about your brand itself. So where basic A+ is really meant to focus on your product and try to get conversion that way, Brand Story is meant for you to showcase other elements of your brand. It allows you to link to your Amazon store. You can link to other products you have selling on Amazon. You can use it for all sorts of different ways. We see people being creative with it, just even like certain times of year, like Prime Day, Christmas. So we encourage you to use this, and again, you can use it along with your basic A+. It's also the free offering, so if you can access the A+ Content Manager, you can access Brand Story. All right, so Premium A+, we launched it again just recently, beginning of August to 3P brand owners. It previously only been available to vendors on Vendor Central as a paid offering. So we're now offering it on Seller Central. It's got some eligibility criteria, which I'll talk about. And here we're showing just kind of the general, sales lift that you can get with basic and premium, and this is so up to 8.5% for basic A+ compared to no A+, and then premium has shown to have up to about a 20% lift, between premium and no A+. I just want to caveat this is by no means a guarantee of sales, but this is just based on some analysis we've done. So eligibility requirements for Premium A+. If you've gotten access to the A+ Content Manager, you're a brand owner, you can also work towards getting access to Premium A+. Right now it is a promotional offering to our 3P brand owners on Seller Central. And so as a promotional offering, it's free. However, there is some eligibility criteria. One is that you've published Brand Story to all of the activations that you own in your catalog. So if you were a brand owner of ASINs, and you can add A+ content to the ASINs. We're wanting you to go ahead and add the brand story to all the active ASINs in your catalog. And you can usually find that in the inventory settings within Seller Central, and pull a report on all of your active ASINs. The second piece is you have to have 15 A+ content project submissions approved within the last 12 months. And this is individual pieces of A+ content. I've got a screenshot here. What that looks like when you go into the A+ Content Manager, it does show you all of the individual pieces of content that you've created. And it's different than, ASINs. So projects, not ASINs. You can have 15 ASINs on a single project, but we want you to have 15 separate projects. Again, this is a promotional period. We don't have an end date to the promotional period. We aren't going to just yank access, though. If you do get access to Premium A+, and you meet this eligibility criteria, we run this eligibility access at the end of every month. So if you meet the eligibility criteria in the middle of the month, you may not get access to it immediately. It'll be at the end of each month, and you'll see a banner indicating that you've got access. You can add Premium A+ to your ASINs. If we do announce an end to the promotional period, we will let you know at least 90 days in advance, and we aren't just going to take away your access to the ASINs that you added Premium to. So don't worry about any of that. If you get access, we encourage you to add Premium to your ASINs. So I'm just showing you a few different module types that you get in Premium A+, but if you are familiar with Basic A+, and you've been in the A+ Content Manager, the Premium modules are a little bit different. So even if you do have Basic A+ already created, you'll have to create new Premium for your ASINs, because they're just entirely different modules. They're a little bit wider than Basic A+. You can have more of them on the detail page. So you can have up to 7 modules of Premium A+ on the detail page. It allows you the video feature, which is always popular. Some interactive hotspots where you can hover over your product and give a little bit more information, that education piece that's really important to the consumers. Some interactive carousels where you can stroll through the carousels, and the Q&A module, which a lot of our brands like to use to just be more transparent to the consumer, address things that they see in reviews, things that consumers are contacting them about to help kind of reduce possibly negative reviews, returns, or just even contacts to their customer service center. And that's it for me. So I will go ahead and pass it on.
Thank you so much, Lauren, for that helpful overview of A+ content. Now we're going to welcome the team from One World Sync. Today we have Randy Mercer, who is the VP of Global Products, Matt Rowbottom, who is Senior Product Manager, and Kara Bianchi, who is Director of Go-to-Market Strategy and Delivery. And they're all going to share One World Sync's insights on how to grow your store's potential through A+ content. And as I mentioned before, please feel free to continue to submit your questions. We will do our best to answer as many as possible throughout and at the end of the presentation. Without further ado, I now give the floor to Randy.
All right. Hey, thank you, everybody. And just while I get my screen shared up here, hopefully you can all see that now. As mentioned, my name is Randy Mercer. I run the product organization here at One World Sync. So my job is to make sure that our solutions do what they're supposed to for our customers and continue to advance them in that regard. Just as I advance here quickly, 3 folks here on the line today, including myself. I've got 2 experts in what we're going to talk about, Kara Bianchi and Matt Rowbottom, who are going to share a lot of detail about how we can help sellers sell more on Amazon. Just by way of introduction, our organization provides a pretty comprehensive suite of solutions to sellers, all in the interest of selling more efficiently and more effectively on Amazon. Relative to those solutions, we offer everything from content creation. Simple example being, if you don't have e-com ready imagery of your products, we can create that for you, either physically, send me your product, we'll physically take pictures of it. From that, we can create hero imagery and those kinds of things, scale shots and so forth, all the way to CGI. If you have packaging artwork, for example, send us that. We can wireframe that, use CGI to create that imagery, as well as structured content like SEO copy and those kinds of things. Our solutions then extend into how do you distribute or syndicate that content, get it to Amazon so it can actually represent your products online. And then we can also tell sellers how they're engaging the consumer. How is the consumer actually looking at that content. How long are they staying on it? We know that the longer they stay there, the more likely a conversion is. So as I mentioned, a very full suite of solutions aimed at just helping sellers sell more and get better results on Amazon. More specifically, we're going to talk about just how do you get started with A+ content. We're confident that by the end of this, you're going to be convinced it's something you should be doing. So how do you get started with it? I'll share a couple of pain points that we see our customers experiencing as they get started with A+ content. And then Matt and Kara are going to get into some tips for optimizing the performance of your content as you start using it. And then we'll tell you a little bit about how, if you want to use our services, how you can take advantage of those. So just getting started, again, Lauren did a great job of describing what A+ content is. But just to reiterate that, whenever you drill down on a product on Amazon, right at the top of the screen, you're going to see image carousels and marketing copy that describes that product. And again, those are examples of types of content. If you don't have those in such a way that you feel they're compelling enough for your products, we can help with that, meaning we can create it all for you. But in addition to that content, if you scroll down the screen, you've got the opportunity using A+ content to inject some content that goes much deeper in terms of how you represent your products. Just tells a much more thorough product story. And then, as Lauren talked about, you can even relate that to just your brand and how you want your brand to be perceived in the marketplace. And all of those things, ultimately, the more you're informing the consumer and creating that engagement, you're ultimately just going to sell more product. It's proven, and I'll show you a stat on that here in a little bit as well. So under the understanding that you do want to move forward with A+, as I mentioned, we've done lots of A/B testing with our customers that just prove out it works. You know, if you use A+, really inform the consumer, it works. You'll see a stat there. It's not a guarantee, but we know that that almost always produces uplift relative to the products that you're representing and selling on Amazon. When we help our customers get started with A+ content, there's a few things that we typically end up helping them work through. And the first one of those things is just knowing, where do I focus my energy relative to the things that I'm selling on Amazon? If I'm selling 10 things, what are the items that I should be focusing on either exclusively or focusing on first as I get started? So depending on the type of product, some products are almost sell themselves, right? Very simple in nature. There's not a lot of detail. Maybe the consumer already knows I want that product. So you may not have a lot of convincing to do to create conversions relative to those types of products. But when you get into more sophisticated products, lots of details, things where customers are going to do a lot of research, or maybe they just really want to understand, is this a brand that I want to support with my dollars? Those are the types of products that you're often going to want to focus on relative to the use of A+, because again, you've got that opportunity with A+ to go much deeper in terms of the detail that you can show, the product story you can tell, and then linking that brand image to the product as well. So in the interest of just not spending your time in the wrong places, we help our customers understand where they should really be focusing within their product assortment. Once you're using content like A+, and other types of content, lots of tools, and we have some of those that help you understand how you're engaging the consumer, and ultimately how is that content performing for you in terms of producing conversion. If you're not using those tools, you're missing opportunities, right? You're not understanding where you could be going back, using that as a feedback loop, improving your content in certain ways to ultimately sell more product, right? So something we help our sellers with is using those tools effectively to really understand where they should be spending their energy. I talked a lot already about imagery and how we can help you create that. Ultimately, when you create A+ content, you're going to be using imagery over and above what you may have at the carousel at the top of the screen, getting into things like scale shots and hero imagery, lifestyle shots, and all of those kinds of things. Not using compelling imagery isn't going to improve the content that you're showing below the fold, or repurposing content that you have at the top of the screen, right? So again, helping sellers understand what they should be using, and then help them come by that imagery if they don't have it, so that they get the most performance out of their A+ investment as they possibly can. And then again, telling the right story, right? You've got the opportunity to use all kinds of types of content. Kara and Matt are going to tell you a lot about that. But you've got the opportunity to use content that really does help you tell a story around your product. How is it used? What is the impact going to be on the consumer that purchases it? again, how you want your brand to be thought of as related to that product. All of those things are opportunities you have to tell that story. So to the extent that we can help our sellers understand what that should look like, we certainly try to do that. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and pass it off to Matt and Kara, and they're going to go through 5 very specific tips relative to how you can just get the most out of A+ content, and then we'll loop back and tell you how you can take advantage of our solutions specifically. All right.
Thanks, Randy. And I really want to reinforce what Randy said there about telling a story. So that's a lot of this. This is your opportunity to tell a story. And what I say, Randy, are you going to keep sharing? There we go. What I tell a lot of people is that top of the fold content, your image gallery and your technical specs, those are the informational things that absolutely affects buying decision. But what really drives it home is that conversation you're having. So you can think of your A+ section as a conversation that you would have with somebody that you're sitting down with, rather than it being something where they're researching it. So tip 1 of this, as Lauren covered at the beginning, depending on what you're doing, whether it's A+ basic or you're doing the premium, that's the new offering, you're going to have a limited number of modules and different types of modules that you can use. So that is the type of content block, we'll call it. And one of the first things that we tell people is to make sure each module counts. Especially if you're using basic, you've only got 5 modules, you don't have a ton of real estate, and nor do you want to. In a lot of cases, your product story can be told in those 5 modules as long as you use them efficiently. So one of the ways to do that is using high resolution images that are informative. So in this example on the screen, I can look at it, I can recognize, hey, this cable is going to bend. It's not going to break on me it's not super rigid, and I can read the text if I want that tells me a little more detail around that. Same thing with, hey, it's got all of this extra shielding, and it's a fiber cable inside of it. So between the imagery and basic text there, I've told a lot of information about that product in a conversational way with somebody.
Absolutely. And all of you, I'm sure, are consumers on Amazon specifically. And the smaller and smaller your devices get, and the shorter we are on time, you don't have time to read. You don't want to. So a lot of that hard work we put in that marketing text is used to power SEO, right? In order to locate relevant products, that's exactly what's powering it. So here, now that they landed and found your product thanks to that copy, they don't want to read. So as they quickly are able to skim and scan through, like Matt said, and observe exactly the quality of your product, certain feature benefits, that's wildly important. Tell the whole story without them having to read that small text on those tiny screens.
Absolutely. And another piece of that in terms of making the best use of that space is really about using the correct module for it. So in this example here, we could have done 3 different modules talking about these 3 main features of the product, but that would leave us with a limited amount left that we could do, and it also would require the user to scroll down a lot more. In this case, we know that these are pretty succinct features that we want to call out that are really important to our users. So we're just going to call them out in a 3-column layout, or maybe it's a 2-column layout, or again, it's not about just using 3-column layout, it's about finding the right modules that get as much information conversationally out to that buyer without using up all of your space. All right, so moving on to tip number 2, we really want to leverage your brand story. Depending on who you are, and it really doesn't matter how big you are, whether you are a startup out of your garage or whether you are Coca-Cola, it is important to tell your brand story because that is going to influence buyers to shop from you. If you can tell your story and why they actually should buy from you, you're building that personal connection and they're more likely to buy from you. And then that's just proven time and time again. So as Lauren mentioned, there's some new tools for that within Amazon as well, but don't forget about that when building it into your A+ content because you can reinforce it here and just really sell that home.
Absolutely. This is one of our #1 ways that we consult. As we have 14,000 brands that trust us with their content at One World Sync. When we're talking about that uplift, we're talking about going far beyond someone landing on your product detail page. So your brand story is generating brand loyalty. As someone's introduced, they want to know your story. They want to know how much effort it took, that maybe it's a family company, the strides that you're taking as far as your carbon footprint or how you're responsibly sourcing and so on, your philanthropic needs. Tell that story. People like to, generate excitement and feel like they're making the responsible decision as they're making their purchases and really deciding between one thing or another. So it's no longer product by product, but it is brand by brand. So here, understand too, is that once you have that story embedded about your company, it doesn't go away. When someone is, now searching for other products, saying, geez, I wonder if this company generates that, or what's their sister company? Oh, they acquired someone. I'm sure that they also do it in a responsible way or about to get there. So aside from that original purchase and that uptick that we're telling you that will be generated with this inline content, it goes far beyond.
Absolutely. So our next tip is really about differentiating with digestible content. It's a bit of a mouthful, but the simple version of this is that, again, a picture speaks 1,000 words. We've all heard that before. We all know that to be true. I can look at this picture without knowing anything else about it and understand that I want the product on the right. I want a better image. I want brighter colors. I want all of these things. And this simple, image here and comparison gives me all of that information without having to detail out the actual technical reasons why I'm getting better color, why I'm getting better picture, all of these things. What I know is I'm going to get a better color and a better picture out of that TV, for example. So really show them what they're missing out on if they don't use it.
Absolutely, guys. Like spelling it out like a vitamin. Don't just say has more and have them reading. Show someone who feels better, who looks better, who's stronger from one to another, from a generic brand to yours. So really articulating that visually in any creative way that you can possibly do. By all means, don't forget that.
And kind of building off of that onto our next one is really about anticipating and answering frequently asked questions. So we can take that tip 3 about using those types of imagery and put that into this as well, which is how do you answer what is going to be the most common question? So I go back again to where I was talking about having a conversation with somebody. If I'm sitting here talking to somebody about a product, there are key things that I know that they're going to want to know about already, and I'm going to tell them those up front. This product is gluten-free. It does not have GMO ingredients. It has basic, non-chemical ingredients inside of it. So I know those are going to, because of the product I'm selling, I know those are going to be common questions. And rather than just having them in an FAQ section in text, you can answer those through your A+ content.
Absolutely, and please do. So we know that it's very important for crowdsourced content and the collaboration between consumers to happen. But when it's this serious, when it is about allergens or even investing your money and what you're going to feed to your pets, yourself, your family, and so on, or what products you're going to interact with, or the effects of what you're actually plugging in your household, this is the trusted source, the brand, the seller. So by putting it in this context, people aren't going to say, let me go in store and get it. Nobody wants to do that. They want to order off Amazon. Let them do that. Let them have the confidence that without touching and feeling the package, that they know that, yes, this must be true because it's in this, articulate way. It's sourced by the brand, and they can move forward with their purchase. Also, when they get it, they won't be surprised. There won't be something that they didn't want, and it won't generate returns, which also, doesn't help for sales. That then loses confidence, saying, last time I bought from Kind Bar, it didn't work out so well. No, Kind Bar very nicely laid this all out. And of course, they'll trust Amazon to continue to go to Amazon to make those purchases when it matters.
And when they're doing that, they're also going to go in and if they're going to leave a review, you're going to give a more positive review. That was one of the things called out as well. So not only does somebody return something if they get something they're not expecting, and it doesn't mean that it's broken or it's wrong, it's just they did not understand what they were getting. They didn't understand the size of it. They didn't understand the contents of it. They didn't understand how it was benefiting them. And then when they got it, they went, oh, this isn't for me. This isn't what I was looking for. And they're returning it. A lot of times they're also going in and leaving negative reviews. And those negative reviews we know are not true negative reviews about the product. They're not saying this is a bad product. They're negative reviews about the experience that they had purchasing it, and you can get ahead of that by having this content out there spell that out. And then tip 5 is focusing on the breadth of product portfolio. So within this, you do have the ability to do things like comparison tables. You can go in and say, I have a whole product line. This one particular product is part of an entire line. In this case, Colgate, we're looking at toothpaste. So I'm on one of the pages for one of these. It's a great opportunity for me to call out the different products within that portfolio and what the differences are between them. And this again goes back to that same message we're saying over and over and over again, which is make sure that they get the right product that's going to fit their needs the first time, so that they can buy with confidence, and you're not going to have returns, you're not going to have negative reviews as much. I can't promise no returns, I can't promise no negative reviews, but I should say you're going to reduce the amount of those by having this, because I might be on the optical white toothpaste on this, and then I realize, oh, well, what I really want is the sparkling white, because I like that better than the other formula, or one of the other features is going to call out to me, oh, I should get this other product, and I'm going to be way more satisfied about it when I get it.
Yes, taking control of how you're representing your products and your brand is exactly what Inline's about. This example allows somebody to, like Matt said, shop within your own brand lines. So as of course, there's a lot of competitive products that are popping up because we want consumers to know about it. But as you're taking control and exposing this, now number one, like Matt said, when you do find a product that you just love, but now your needs evolve, or someone that it involves, you understand you don't have to look outside this product line. You can stay dedicated because the one worked a lot, better for you. Aside from just, comparison toothpaste to toothpaste, understand all that Colgate does, right? They now could say, oh, I didn't know that they did cosmetics. Oh, I didn't know they did X, Y, Z. And so you're also able to, take advantage of introducing people to new concepts anywhere in your inline. So keep that in mind too.
Absolutely. I think the overall message we're trying to say here is, again, I just reiterate, it's about going back and saying, how do I tell a conversational story within that A+ content that is going to resonate with people, that they're going to understand, and that's going to make them buy with confidence. So as a final little piece of this, we did want to call out, if you would like to know more about how you could use our services to help with that, everything from building pages out for you to our platform, what we call ContentCast, where we can actually, you can go in, use our builder, build out a full page of content that includes enhanced modules as well. And then from there, you can send it directly to Amazon for A+, or you can actually also send it out to a vast network of recipients.
Yes, so what you're seeing right here is our modules. If you have really good eyes and want to lean a little bit, you'll see, at the top, it's explaining to you, that's our module of a gallery. That's where you build it. So some of you might be thinking, geez, I wish we had the budget this year to lease out a marketing agency. No, our content builder here, you are layering on text on top of images. You are generating hotspots. You are doing those details within our solution. One of the key features that Matt actually built within the solution was this Amazon clone feature. Say that majority of people need one central location to control, view, manage, and articulate everything that has to do with marketing. That is One World Sync. So in this particular instance in Inline, we have this clone feature where it peers out into your instance on Amazon based on your target market with your credentials, and it grabs that's static content that you have built with Amazon Basic. Now you're able to manage it within this particular tool. And with that, you're saying, geez, I love this. This seems to be landing well. Let me modify it a bit per product. Let me enhance it. So like Lauren said, you do have some parameters you have to abide by in order to be allowed in that A+ premium trial. When you're doing that, don't wait, no further delay. So start to prep your items here, grab them in, bring them into our system, and start to enhance and build. Add those videos that you have waiting for you, build those hotspots, and use it as a side-by-side wireframe. So when you are invited in Amazon A+ Premium, that you have a head start. And understand when you're here, aside from syndicating out to Amazon in that basic view, ultimately we have a preview button. So if you are still on basic and you're saying, oh, will this whole page break? I have a video and I'm only basic? No. We'll have an Amazon preview button that's an exact replica of exactly what we'll syndicate out. So you'll very clearly be able to see if that video is suppressed. So that's the good nature of it all. The last thing I'll say, oh, go ahead.
I was just adding to that with that preview, the other functionality that's there is also the ability to say which modules to send. So as you're going through it, maybe you're like, I don't want to send the gallery because that's already covered in the top of the page. So I want to skip that one. You'll be able to go in and say, don't send this one to Amazon, send this, and it will help. If you're on basic, it will help you manage which of those 5 modules you actually want to send.
Yes. And the last thing I'll say is one of the key features of One World Sync, I'm sure a lot of us interact, is the one-to-many effect. And what we mean by that is when you start here, you're peering out to wherever commerce happens. People do research. People do look to the brand websites in order to verify the products that they're ultimately buying, especially when they can't touch it or don't want to in the store. So people do land on your brand websites. So this same content people often use to peer and land on your corporate or brand website, or often the technology that you're used. So as of course, we help you generate augmented reality or anything like that, 3D models and so on. If your website needs a place to hold it saying, oof, I want that imagery, but I don't know what technology it takes. Will this provide lag time or slowness or performance issues on my website? This is exactly the technology that you'll use in order to leverage that content, take it further. So when you are able to use it on Amazon Premium, sure. When you do want to leverage it on your brand website or other channels, fine. And last but not least, on your sales enablement tools. So as you're looking to expand or educate internally, really bring it forward in the R&D or have that one location to see from top to bottom, what's everything about this one product, from inline to structured and so on, that there's one place. And that's what we do at One World Sync.
All right. Thanks, Karen. Matt, it's great stuff. I even learned a lot there. But as you can probably tell, I've been around a long time, and we've helped tons and tons of customers with our solutions to sell more products. One of the biggest mistakes that we see folks make is they go to a lot of work to accumulate a nice assortment of products that they want to sell, and then they go cheap in terms of how they represent those products online. So to make that investment in your content, to inform the consumer so they don't have to go looking for answers, it's just right there in front of them. What they bought is exactly what lands on their doorstep, and they're satisfied with it. And then the opportunity to cross-sell, when you can represent your entire assortment, you've got your product in front of somebody. Why not cross-sell a little bit there and represent some of the other things? All of those things are opportunities that you have to impact really well with A+, and we see people just not do it for whatever reason, right? It's a small investment to make to sell a lot more products. So take advantage of it. If anything you heard today is compelling about how we may be able to help you with that, if I could figure out how to advance there, reach out to us at hello@oneworldsync.com. I promise we will say hello back, and then we will tell you exactly how you can take advantage of our solutions of service and services, some of which we didn't even get a chance to talk about today, but a lot of ways that we can help you. So certainly reach out and we'll help you take advantage of what we can do for you. And with that, I think we are going to open it up to some Q&A.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Kara, Matt, and Randy, for that fruitful presentation on One World Sync and A+ content. We've had a ton of wonderful questions come in. I'm going to try to get through as many as I can, but what we don't answer live, we'll try our best to follow up afterwards. One kind of theme of questions is around premium A+ content eligibility. How do we become eligible, and then how do we take advantage of that eligibility to actually start using premium A+ content? So I don't know, Lauren or the One World Sync team, who wants to take that one?
I can take it. So to become eligible, for starters, you have to be registered as a brand owner through Brand Registry on Seller Central. So assuming you've done that and you're already using A+ content, you need to have Brand Story, the A+ content feature, applied to all of your active ASINs. So you can find those, I believe it's under the inventory tab in Seller Central, and you can go look to see all of your active ASINs. And then you can go in and you create Brand Story, and there's actually a bulk upload feature for your ASINs, so you don't have to manually input them one by one. If you've got a couple hundred thousands of ASINs, you can do a bulk upload for Brand Story. And then the second piece is really just to make sure that guidelines are being adhered to, you're familiar with the product, that we want the 15 individual A+ project submissions that are approved, the keyword is approved, within the past 12 months. And so if you've done both of those things, Again, we do eligibility criteria at the end of each month and just kind of reassess to see, you know, who's hit that threshold. And then we do an automatic enrollment. So if you're in the Content Manager right now and you don't have access to Premium A+, you probably see a banner that indicates what the eligibility criteria that you need to do to get access. It's got a link to the help pages that also have some just FAQs about Premium A+, if you're curious. Then if you hit that eligibility criteria, at the end of the month, you'll see that banner change to one that says you've got access to Premium A+. It will have a link that links you to the modules themselves, but what will happen is if you go into the A+ Content Manager, where you would currently see your options when you go to start creating A+, you see like basic A+ and brand story. If you have access to Premium, you'll now see the third Premium feature module. Great,
thank you, Lauren. Is there a limit to how many videos or how much text or how many photos you can have in Premium A+?
There's not a limit. If you wanted to use, so there is a module limit. You can only use up to 7 modules. You could do 7 video modules. I don't know that I would recommend that. I would vary the modules you're using, but there's generally no limit to you know, text or images. And so.
Thank you. If I only have 1 or 2 ASINs, how would you recommend I take advantage of A+ content?
I can jump on that one.
Yeah, go for it.
You know, that was something that Randy had covered at the beginning too, which is really about understanding where you're going to get the most impact. Honestly, if you have 1 or 2 ASINs, your most impact is just putting that content on those ASINs. You know, if you've got thousands of ASINs, you might have to be a little more selective of your time and focus on your higher, you know, revenue, higher sales products. But when you've got a limited number of ASINs, that's a perfect opportunity to just get that content out there and really drive the sales on those items.
Excellent, thank you. For those sellers who have multiple brands, how does eligibility work there? Do all 3 brands need to have a brand story? Do, you know, the projects need to be duplicated? Can you explain a little bit what to do if you have more than 1 brand?
Yeah, so if you have more than 1 brand, the project submission criteria, the 15 projects, is not at a brand level. It's just 15. So if you've got, you know, 5 on one brand, 5 on another brand, 5 on, you know, that counts it to your 15. The brands, though, if you have brand owner rights to, like, let's say you're managing 3 brands, you have brand owner rights to all of the ASINs for those brands, and yes, that is part of the brand story eligibility criteria. And what we would recommend, you know, if you have 100 ASINs for each brand, you do a different brand story for each brand to showcase that brand across those ASINs.
And don't forget what one of the recommendations is. Yes, please, you know, do what it takes to get on A+ Premium, but set your stuff up at One World Sync. So the moment that eligibility counts, when they said, I believe the first ticks over, that you'll have it instantly. Don't delay for later on in the week or on a Thursday. I'll get to it when have it. So it's a side-by-side kind of drag and drop opportunity. So there's no more delay to market, and you could take full advantage of that free trial. So bring it on in our system and get prepared while you're waiting, okay?
That's a great segue. Many folks here today are asking about, you know, pricing structure for One World Sync and how they can, you know, begin to use your services. So, you know, whichever direction you want to take that.
Yeah, variety of pricing, just depending on exactly how you mix and match our services and how you want to use them. So again, just reach out to us, hello@oneworldsync.com, and we can get you very specific information relative to exactly what you're trying to achieve.
Great. So there was a question about the comparison tables, and what are the rules in comparing your brand to another brand or your ASINs to another brand's ASINs? Is there any best practices that you can discuss there?
So you can't do that with an A+ content. You can only add A+ content to ASINs that you own in your catalog. So it would just be if you're trying to help a consumer make a purchase decision between maybe some similar products in your catalog.
Great. And within the FAQ module, can you include contact information for customer service or links to your store, either within both the FAQ module or your content in general?
No, it's against guidelines to include any sort of external information on the product detail page in general, and that holds true for A+ content. So part of our guidelines is that you cannot include contact information. And this is just to kind of, because we can't really police or control, if that information, becomes out of date, or if it's just, like links get broken. So that's why we don't allow it, but it's part of our content guidelines, and you can find our content guidelines. They're on the seller help pages as well.
And one of the things we talk about a lot when we're consulting at One World Sync is that observe, people don't want to go outside of Amazon, right? So as they're staying in there and they're asking the questions in that domain or even having reviews, use that, leverage that in order to generate, update, and really just keep your product content live, right? Keep it relevant. When somebody is ultimately asking a question or you are getting some confusion or something like that, take control of that, adjust your modules quickly, and make sure that you're addressing it. So you're not out of the water with that. People don't want to call somebody. It's not the world we're in. So yeah, you definitely have opportunities there.
Of the modules available with basic A+ content, which do you see as the most impactful for shopper engagement?
Sure, and I think that really just goes back to, again, as I was trying to convey about telling that conversational story. So it's going to, in part, depend on the product you're selling. In the example we had earlier, we're talking about a TV. In there, obviously, the consumer is looking very detailed at the purchase because it's a very large purchase, and they want to understand all the features of it and what's the real benefit to them. But that still applies even if you are selling a salad spinner. We've actually, and I bring that up because we actually did an A/B test with a salad spinner and saw a significant lift in conversion based on having that rich content there, because it's still important to use that to tell that story. So when it comes to which modules to use, it's going to be, what is the story you're trying to tell? What do you have available? So, some people might not have a great set of imagery. So they, that becomes the question of, do you go out, do you contact us or another service to get better imagery for it so that you can deliver those best modules? And then also just, again, going through and looking at it, what I recommend people do is honestly have a friend look at it before you publish it. Say, especially someone that's not necessarily familiar with your products, does this make sense to you? Does this make you want to buy it? Because you're getting real feedback from that conversation.
Absolutely. Look what's trending in the world as far as the California prop. It's important to people. There's certain allergens, there's certain different materials that people, are attracted to or just can't participate in. So anything you could do to be transparent, and of course, remove those words, articulate it visually if you can, and where you can't, supplement accordingly, brief, right? And make it really easy, really concise, so that people could find value in it. Take advantage of that. And then of course, the brand story is wonderful, right?
Another question here, One World Sync, does your tool support language variation and localization?
Great question, and absolutely it does. So we are a global company. We support all the different marketplaces for Amazon, as well as our general network expands beyond that. And within that, we support all the languages that are there as well. So you can go in and create a English Canada and an English or a French Canada page. You can go and create a Germany page. All of those kind of tie up together.
Yep, exactly that feature we were talking about where you're cloning and reaching into your instance. It'll ask you, hey, what target market in Amazon are you looking for, to bring it back in, refine it, or take it further. Yep, you'll see that opportunity there too.
Getting a few questions about the modules and how those are used in SEO. Do you mind maybe expanding a little bit on recommendations for tagging images, text, keywords, anything that would impact SEO as part of a module?
So we can't really speak to search engine algorithms because they're changing. Best practice though is to use keywords that are relevant to your customer base. You can use the image keywords. They're actually required when you're building your A+ content to just be descriptive of your product. The image keywords are also more largely used for accessibility. If someone's needing to have the page dictated to them for whatever reason that that you're just describing your product.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll reinforce that one as well. It's a big thing that we hear a lot about, is making sure from our recipients, from the people that are getting this content, that it is accessible. Because if you are not adding a descriptive keywords to the image, for example, at that point, you can think of it as somebody who is visually impaired. You're essentially giving them nothing. You've not used that A+ content for that person. If you're not adding closed captionings to videos, you're essentially delivering a video that someone who is hearing impaired, it's no impact to them because it's just the video. They're not getting the full experience out of it.
There's a question here if there's any way to transfer content from Vendor Central to Seller Central and vice versa.
No, unfortunately, there's not. They're two pretty separate systems.
But we might be able to help you with that if you want to talk to us about it. Because we actually, to Kara's point earlier, where she was talking about that ability for us to import from Amazon, we might be able to help you connect into, say, your Seller Central account, import the existing basic content that you have, and then reconnect to your vendor account and authorize there to then publish it in. So we might be able to help you with that.
It looks like this question is for the One World Sing team. At the beginning of the webinar, you mentioned product photography as part of your service portfolio. Is that included or bundled in with your A+ content tool?
It can certainly be used in conjunction with it. It is not included in the pricing. That's depending on the product type and the type of photography that you want done, and then what do you want done with that photography, meaning do you want hero images, scale shots, things like that. All of that affects the pricing. So it's variable and in addition to A+, but certainly reach out to us and we'll give you more detail.
Yeah, same thing is imagery starting to evolve, understand the opportunity for us to generate animation and things of that nature, making it more creative of how we're leveraging models and CGI and so on. So anything you're like, oof, I wish I had that for, wherever you're taking it, like Amazon Premium, yep, let us know.
There's a question here about if you can share any best practice tips for bullet points on top of the listing and how it could complement your A+ content.
Nobody's jumping forward on this one, so I'll try and see if I can answer it. So I think what you're asking is about the top of the page where you've got your key selling features. It's the first chance you've got to really give them a description of it in text apart from the image gallery. It goes back to that same best practice, which is think about that as what is the most important things that someone needs to know about your product. Is it dimensions? Is it ingredients? Is it, whichever is going to be most useful for them as a purchasing decision. So again, I like to keep thinking of that top of the page as the information section. It's where someone's going to make a purchase decision ultimately, but that below the fold section in the premium content is where you're telling that conversational story.
Yeah, and those why buys, keep it brief. People stop reading, they get exhausted. Make sure the most compelling, like Matt said, is at the top. And why should they buy it? Or why shouldn't they buy it? Be transparent, be forthcoming, and so on. And talk about your product, not your brand there. It's about that product specifically with all the details that are relevant.
There's a question here, again, there's a few actually on regarding the eligibility again, but it's more in the projects that have been created in the past 12 months. So does that mean that, if you've created projects older than 12 months ago, you need to maybe redo them, update them? Can you explain a little bit kind of about the time-gated nature of the criteria?
Yeah, really best practice is to keep your content updated. So that's why we've got the 12-month time frame. So yes, if you created content 13 months ago, it's probably good time to just kind of go through and maybe just do a refresh on it. We do find that it does actually help a little bit with the conversion. If you do keep that content updated on a cadence, you don't have to be doing it like just every month, but every 6 months or so, it's good to kind of go through and give your content a refresh.
Yeah, and tacking onto that, another thing to consider is seasonality. It is a great opportunity to go in and add a bit of seasonality to it. Is your product relevant for back to school? Is there a Halloween marketing messaging that you can add on during October? Now, all of those things are going to help you just differentiate, especially as someone comes back to research your product after looking at it elsewhere.
Yeah, reporting is such a huge thing in our world. Amazon has it, One World Sync has it, we all do. Just as you're analyzing what Randy was saying at the beginning of what's working, what isn't working, what should I remove, what should I say, geez, this keeps on landing, everyone's interacting with it, things of that nature. Make sure that you're expanding that across your product portfolio and staying up to date. You know, don't stay static, stay really active, and make sure compelling content that's landing with your consumers are, you know, being replicated wherever it can.
We got a ton of questions that we're definitely not going to be able to get to all of them, but perhaps maybe as one of the final ones here, which metrics do you track to measure the success of A+ content? I guess how can brand owners you know, verify that success?
Sure, and there's a couple different. Oh, go ahead, Lauren.
No, go for it. Yeah.
No, I want you to go first. You opened your mouth first. I want you.
I was gonna say, like we just have done studies over, you know, hundreds of thousands of ASINs over, you know, a period of time to kind of get to that conversion. We don't have the ability to surface that like in a dashboard right now as a feature for sellers. We do get that feedback. We're looking into you know, what we can provide. We want it to be actionable. So whatever data we do provide back is, you know, what's the information I think we're trying to figure out that, you know, selling partner would need in order to make some, you know, decisions on their A+ content. But generally, yeah, the conversion is kind of a very big study that's what we measure the lift on.
Yeah, and that's another opportunity just in the previous question to go back and say, hey, I need to change my content out, or I want to change my content out. You can look at that as an A/B test in a way. You can look at that and say, when you've changed that content, did you see an uptick because of the new content that you added? And in addition to that, if you do use our services at One World Sync, we can talk about some of the extended reporting that we do capture in terms of interactions and things like that within our general network.
Yep, we have many white papers, outsourced studies, and so on. People are very interested in these consumer trends. There's so much out there that we can help bring forward to you. So again, hello@oneworldsync.com, and we can help you justify that investment.
Been getting a few questions here at the end of just about the review cycle for A+ content, and you know, either when is the review cycle, is that, you know, like tomorrow, the end of it for September, and then also when is the promotion going to end? So Lauren, I don't know if you want to take that one. So
I'm gonna guess the review cycle is aimed at the eligibility piece and not the moderation piece. So the review cycle is, we do it basically at the end of every month, and we just kind of check to see, you know, which sellers have published brand story to all of their active ASINs, have gotten the 15 project submissions within the past 12 months, and then we grant access from there. And we don't, if you have gotten access, we're not going to continually reevaluate you and say like, well, you don't meet it this month and yank it. So once you've got access, you've got access. Can you remind me what the second piece of that question was? Just about the promotion. You mentioned yeah. Yeah, again, we haven't decided on an end date yet. So, but don't worry, like we aren't going to just all of a sudden tomorrow charge you for your premium A+ content or anything like that. We'll give you sufficient time, at least 90 days if we end the promotional period. And it's not going to be next month either. So
yeah, and if you do have nerves about that, just like that's what One World Sync does, right? We are a reservoir of the, you know, single source of truth. So make sure you have full visibility of everything you have out there. As you're generating these powerful premium pages at Amazon, store it there. You don't need to, you know, just store it there so you have that full visibility and have that exposure, and then you could kind of rest easy, okay? Absolutely. Well, we have some more questions rolling in, but we'll have to reach out to you individually as we are at the end of our time here. I'd again like to provide a sincere thanks to Randy, Matt, Kara, and Lauren for presenting today and sharing your deep knowledge on how to leverage A+ content and
and the product details page to grow your revenue and optimize, increase traffic.